Hey everybody, it's Matt Mayoka from NBC Sports Bay Area checking in on a Sunday where there's no 49ers football. So an opportunity to watch a red zone, check out what's happening around the NFL as the 49ers played on Thursday. They lose to the LA Rams. And there's also like kind of this element of stream of consciousness when it comes to posting these videos. And the last one I posted was who's to blame for the 49ers 6-8 season, a season in which they are not going to be going to the playoffs. And so, as I think about this, I try to cover all my bases and just try to look at things from different perspectives. And this one probably would be titled, Perhaps There's Nobody to Blame, because yeah, I think, if you listen to my podcast with Jennifer Lee Chan during training camp, yeah, I just kind of got the sense that this was going to be a very difficult 49er season. And, it started with the Super Bowl, just how that game ended, also with Dre Greenlaw's injury, obviously going to be carrying over into the regular season. And then you go into the off season, and there's a contract issue with Christian McCaffrey that was handled mostly behind the scenes. But then the ongoing contract stuff, Brandon Ayuk was a hold in, Trent Williams was a hold out. All the just kind of strangeness that happened around the team. And then I remember when the schedule came out, I think my just knee jerk reaction was I just go through it win, loss, win, whatever, go all the way through. And I'm pretty sure I had the 49ers at 12-5 for the season. And then, after you see the rest of the schedules, and Sharp Football Analysis does a good job with that, when they had the 49ers rated as negative 21-day differential, that made me go, well, I should knock off at least one, maybe two victories from the 49ers total. And so that negative 21 rest differential was the largest of any NFL team in the past decade. So right there, with all the stuff, even before training camp or through training camp, not even mentioning the Ricky Pearsall situation, it didn't stack up well for a 49ers good season. Now, I'm not saying that all those things, well, certainly the injuries had a lot of impact. McCaffrey sustaining the injury that was a carryover from late in the season through his conditioning and training regimen through the offseason into training camp. So that clearly, that injury, the Greenlaw injury, the Hufanga injury, all that stuff that was carried over from last year, that certainly had an impact on the team in itself. Any one of those things make a difference, perhaps, but all of it combined, certainly. So I'm going to get into more of that. But first, I want to tell you that this video is brought to you by Canyon Club Brewery, located in Moraga, California, right down the street from where I live. They have a wide selection of beer styles, so it can satisfy all your beer needs. But you can bring the whole family. There's also, obviously, some non-alcoholic uh, solutions to quench your thirst. And they also have a great variety of menu, tasty bites, all in a very inviting atmosphere, nice beer garden with the fire pits and everything else. Bring the family dog, and it's coming soon to the Livery in Danville. So check that out, Canyon Club Brewery. Okay, here's one thing about the failures of this season. And yeah, I don't think anybody would label it anything other than that, but there are a lot of reasons. And I know on the last video, I said Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, Brock Purdy, the three most prominent people in the organization. But you know what? Um, you know, Brock Purdy didn't have the same tools at his disposal as in the past. Neither did Kyle Shanahan. And for John Lynch, I know that they were very happy with the roster they put together. But then when you start having to dip lower and lower onto the depth chart, situations arise. But the one thing that I would say that gives the 49ers hope for the future is just how they rank in the NFL. And now I'm going to use total yards because I actually think that total yards is the best barometer to measure a team for now and the future. In other words, I think, people will say points. Obviously, you want to score more points, you want to give up fewer points. But like red zone offense, third downs, turnovers. I think that those things are kind of not, I don't know. I think there's a lot of luck and chance that goes into that. But a team that can move the ball down the field or a team that doesn't give up very many yards defensively, I think those are kind of the building blocks that kind of tell you what that offense is about. Again, I realize points are important. That's all it takes. That's what you need. But I mean, just take for instance last year, for instance, 2023, the 49ers led the league in red zone offense. And this year, they're near the bottom of the league in red zone offense. That's the efficiency of scoring touchdowns once you get inside the red zone. I just think that that is kind of, I mean, just the fact that one team can go from the top to the bottom like that tells you that there's a lot there that necessarily you can't count on. And also takeaways. A team could lead the league in takeaways and then go 3 games without a takeaway. So I don't know. I think there's just a lot of chance when it comes to those. But let's just take yards per game. And, we're going to paint this picture. I just want to give you a different perspective. 49ers defense right now ranks third in the NFL in total defense as far as yards allowed per game at 298 yards allowed per game. And so, we haven't talked much about Nick Sorensen in the last couple of weeks because the defense played so well against the Chicago Bears, and the defense played very well against the Rams on Thursday night, not allowing Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Tyron Williams to get into the end zone. So the defense has done its job, but the offense is where things have sputtered. And then offensively, the 49ers rank eighth in the league. They've dropped, obviously, in recent weeks. Well, they dropped Thursday night. They're averaging 365 yards total per game. And of course, it took a big hit in Green Bay when Brandon Allen was a quarterback. And it took another big hit the next week in the blizzard of Buffalo, Orchard Park, actually. But so those are things that I kind of look at, when people say, is it a teardown? Is there anyone to blame? You know what? Maybe there's just nobody to blame for this. Maybe it's just, I could probably list 1,000, well, not 1,000. I could list 100. Let's go with 100. I could list 100 reasons why this season has not turned out as well as the 49ers had hoped. But let's just start off with the Pro Bowl guys from last year. The 9 Pro Bowl guys on the 49ers roster from last year. Nick Bosa, he's been out. He missed 3 games with injuries, and the production hasn't been there as it has been in the past. Javon Hargrave, he's missed 14 games, or he will by the time the end of the season. 14 games, and he was a Pro Bowl player last year. You have George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, fullback. George Kittle's the only guy on this team of these Pro Bowl players that's either at or exceeded the production that he had a year ago. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, he's missed 13 games. When all said and done, he will have missed 13 games. Brock Purdy, the numbers aren't there. The raw numbers, the 113 passer rating, the fourth in the voting for the MVP last year. He won't get a vote for MVP this year. Charvarius Ward, great season last year. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with him, family related. He missed 4 games after the death of his young daughter. And so a lot of reasons why his play isn't up to that level this season. Fred Warner, certainly on a great path early in the season, but sustains an ankle injury, has a fracture in week 4, and his play has dropped off since then, understandably. And then Trent Williams. Trent Williams, he's missed 4 games and counting this year. So, there's a lot of reasons. Did I miss somebody? No, that's it. So those are the 9 Pro Bowl guys who made the Pro Bowl last season. Here are among the alternates for the Pro Bowl from last season. Brandon Ayuk, he's missed 10 games or will have missed 10 games by the time this season is over. Deebo Samuel, we've talked a lot about him, the lack of production, the ability or the inability to make that first person miss, which was his calling card throughout his NFL career. So he's dropped off dramatically as far as a production standpoint. And then also Dre Greenlaw. He was an alternate last year. And of course, Dre Greenlaw missed the first 13 games of the season, came back, played the first half against the Rams on Thursday night, and frankly, it looked like Dre Greenlaw. So when you look at the number of top line players, and I'm going to throw in, some guys who never even stepped on the field this year. 49ers were hoping that Drake Jackson would get healthy and be a rotational defensive end and supply, whatever, 5, 6 sacks this season. Out before the season even began. Same with Elijah Mitchell on offense. Same with John Feliciano on offense. And then Curtis Robinson, a special teamer, backup linebacker. He probably would have been on the field on Thursday night after Greenlaw wasn't able to play, or they, as a precaution, went out of the lineup in the second half. D. Winters had the neck issue, and then Devondre Campbell says, "Nope, I don't want to play." So, by the way, Devondre Campbell, 49ers still haven't done anything with him, as I talked about. They're kind of looking at how they want to handle this, as far as they don't want to do anything that would set up the possibility of some grievance that Devondre Campbell could file. My thought would be they'd probably just suspend him without pay for conduct detrimental to the team, and that way they retain his rights, and he can't. If they released him, he could go sign on with another team, and who knows, a team in a pinch needing a inside linebacker, he could end up being on a playoff team. So I don't think the 49ers want to do that. Um, the injuries, when you look at this team this season, Hargrave, Talanoa Hufanga misses 10 games. Greenlaw, I mentioned the 13. Yetur Gross-Matos, who was NFL Defensive Player of the Week for Week 14, he's missed 6 games. Ward missed 4 games. Kevin Givens missed 11 games, a very solid rotational defensive tackle who can also start. 11 games for him. And then Diamador Lenore, maybe the 49ers' best defensive player from start to finish this season. He and Warner right there. Diamador Lenore missed 1 game. And then offensively, it's McCaffrey, it's Ayuk, Trent Williams missing the 4 games. George Kittle missed 2 games. Ricky Pearsall missed 6 games after the shooting incident. One of those other weird things that happened to the team. There's been football injuries. There's been off-field tragedies with family members and near tragedies in the case of Ricky Pearsall, the 49ers first round draft pick, number 31 overall, and someone that I will cut all the slack in the world to. He hasn't had a productive season, got off to a pretty good start, hasn't shown much production at all, but you know what? I'm not willing to write him off or call him anything other than let's just kind of regroup and see how he performs next season, because I don't think anybody could have succeeded this season as a rookie after what he's been through. And then Jordan Mason, who began the season as a starting running back in place of McCaffrey, played very well. Now he got injured as McCaffrey was coming back, so that cut into his playing time with the shoulder injury, and now he's out for the rest of the season with a high ankle sprain. All told, he will miss 5 games. So I guess you know, uh, some things happen, and I think that there's a lack of production. Obviously, can blame the coaching staff for not putting the players in the best positions to win games. But the fact of the matter is, with Brock Purdy, his numbers falling, he's rarely had the same supporting cast. Kyle Shanahan doesn't have the same players calling plays for, but yet, the offense is still ranked statistically as a top 10 offense. And the defense, despite all the changes on defense, basically a revamped defensive line, the 49ers defense still ranks third in the NFL. And so, has Nick Sorensen done a bad job as a first year defensive coordinator? I'm not sure we can say that any longer. Um, in the one areas which I talked about earlier, the red zone efficiency. The 49ers offense hasn't scored enough touchdowns once they get inside the red zone. Thursday night, they never even got inside the red zone. Defensively, have they given up more touchdowns than they should or they could when the opposition gets inside their own the 49ers 20-yard line? Yes. But that didn't happen on Thursday night, and the 49ers still lose 12-6 to the Rams. And so there's a lot of head scratching elements of this season, but I almost feel like you could have seen this thing coming from a million miles away because a lot has to go right in the course of a season, off season, training camp, regular season for a team to succeed. And I would say that for the 49ers, very little has gone right this season, beginning with a bizarre offseason and everything else. So bad vibes or whatever you want to call it. I think that ultimately, maybe you can decide that maybe nobody is responsible other than just a collective list of reasons why the 49ers went from being, a Final Four NFL team the previous 3 seasons to this year having their offseason start much earlier than they wanted it to. So that's some thoughts as we head into this Sunday of games, and I'll be back real soon. Thank you for watching.